Hello YouTubers! This is my October AFL trade rumours for season 2025. Congratulations to the Brisbane Lions in winning the AFL Grand Final against Geelong Cats. In this video, I'll be looking at all the players linked to each of the 18 sides, and I'll do it in alphabet order, starting from A, Adelaide, and ending with W, the Western Bulldogs. Alright, let's go and start with the first team. Before we continue, I would like to ask for a very small favour. If you enjoy this AFL content, please take a sec to subscribe to the channel and like the video. That would be awesome. Okay, let's return back to the show. First team we start with is the Adelaide Crows. There are a number of players linked to the Crows. One is Brisbane Lions Premiership player Callum Archie. He is out of contract, and there's a good chance that the Crows may acquire him. It is alleged that the Crows have offered between 5 and 6 years for Archie. The next player is Geelong reserve player George Stevens. He's been on the list for 2 years. He's a midfielder who's like 188 centimeters, I believe, inside mid, and he is out of contract. Will the Crows make a play for him? He's been doing well in the VFL. Now, the other two players on the list are contracted. First one is Christian Petrarca. He is contracted to the Melbourne Demons until 2029. To acquire someone who has 4 years left of his contract, it's going to cost a lot of draft picks. 2, 3 first rounders? Not sure. But trying to acquire someone with 4 years left of their contract is going to be pretty difficult unless you offer overs, i.e. 3 first round draft picks. I'm unsure about that. And the last one that's been linked to the Crows is Brisbane Lions Premiership player Zach Bailey, who kicked 2 goals 6 in the grand final. He's under contract until end of season 2026. However, he's only got 12 more months under his current contract before he becomes a free agent. Do the Crows try to get him on a free agent and offer 2 first round draft picks, or hope that Bailey doesn't re-sign for the Lions next season and the Crows try acquire him at the end of season 2026 as a free agent? Therefore, they're the 4 players linked to the Adelaide Crows. But the one I read in the media that the Crows have a good chance in acquiring is Callum Archie. Alright, next team is the Brisbane Lions. They've got 2 players linked. Basically, Sam Draper of Essendon, the ruckman, he's an unrestricted free agent. And basically, when free agency opens on Friday the 3rd of October, Essendon Bombers can't match it because Sam Draper is an unrestricted free agent, and if all the paperwork is done, he'll be one of the first players to sign on the Friday. The next player also linked, but he's a restricted free agent, is Oscar Allen from West Coast Eagles. Centre forward would be a good pickup for the Lions, given that last year they lost Danaher retired end of last season, and therefore this is more due to the compensation pick. If West Coast get band 1 and get pick 2, this deal, I should say, will be done quickly. However, if the dollars that the Lions offer doesn't match up to pick 2, I can see the Eagles matching it and forcing a trade. It's all subject to the compensation pick. If West Coast gets pick 2, this deal will be done pretty quickly. And the third one is not player related. It's all about acquiring more picks in the draft, as the Lions have got a gun academy player, Daniel Annabelle, who's likely to go in the top 5 inside mid, been playing well in the VFL this year, is available in the draft, and therefore the Lions will try to accumulate more points to match any bids taken, as he's likely to be in the top 5. The next team is Carlton, and there are a number of players that have sought to be traded to the Blues and linked to the Blues. The players that have already requested a trade to the Blues are Campbell Chester from West Coast Eagles. He is out of contract, is a wingman midfielder. Ruckman from Fremantle, Liam Reddy, he's also out of contract. They're the 2 players that have sought a trade to the Blues. And other players that's linked to Carlton are Buku Kamos, Western Bulldogs defender. He's contracted until 2026. Unless the Blues offer draft picks, he won't leave the Western Bulldogs. Therefore, the Blues got to offer picks that will satisfy the Doggies. And the 4th player, he's been linked to a number of Victorian clubs, is Sam Flanders. He's been linked to various clubs, the Saints, D's, Essendon, and Carlton. Sam Flanders is contracted until 2027. Therefore, he still has 2 years left of his contract. And in order to get Sam Flanders from Gold Coast, the Blues will have to offer significant picks to price him out of Gold Coast. However, depending on the decoding compo, looks like it may be a potential first rounder in the 10 to 12 range. Would that pick be used for Sam Flanders? However, Sam Flanders has got a number of Victorian clubs to choose from. Therefore, these are the players linked to Carlton. The next club is Collingwood, and the player linked to the Magpies is Sydney key forward Jack Buller. He is out of contract, and therefore the Magpies do have a chance to acquire service. Depending what picks the Sydney will request. I know Collingwood's got a number of picks in the 2nd, 3rd and 4th rounder respectively. Therefore, they can make the deal happen, just depending on Sydney's asking price. But he's the one player that's linked to Collingwood. The next team is Essendon Bombers, and the players linked to the Bombers are, you got our contract Hawthorn defender, Jay Sarong. You got unrestricted free agent of Gold Coast, Braden Fioroni. The third player linked is Sam Flanders. His contract to the Gold Coast Suns until 2027. And the fourth player that I've heard, but I can't see this happening, is Zach Bailey, 2-time premiership winner for the Brisbane Lions. He's a pre-agent and he's contracted until 2026. If the Bombers can't get Bailey, do they wait until next year and see if he re-signs with the Lions? And if he doesn't, then they can offer him a good deal in terms of dollars and salary to acquire him under free agency this time next year. I just can't see Bailey leaving the Lions. Just one back-to-back. You think he'll be going for a three-peat or attempting to go for a three-peat next season with the Lions? The next team is Fremantle Dockers. There's one player linked is Judd McVie. He's a Melbourne halfback defender from Western Australia. That's why he's linked to Fremantle and he's out of contract. The next team is the 2025 runners-up in Geelong Cats. They've got two players linked. One is Hawthorn midfielder James Warpel. He's a restricted free agent, and depending on the dollars of contract, if he receives a significant positive offer and Hawthorn can't match it, he'll be able to sign directly for the Cats, but he's a restricted free agent, and therefore Hawthorn can match the offer, what the Cats offer to Warpel in terms of salary. The next player is St Kilda ruckman Ron Marshall. However, Ron Marshall is contracted to the Saints until 2027. He has 2 years left of his contract. The reason why Ron Marshall has been linked is it's likely St Kilda Saints are going to sign Decoding from Carlton as a free agent, and you assume that Decoding will be the number one ruckman for St Kilda Saints. And where does this push Marshall? As a forward, he's a ruckman. The next club is Gold Coast Suns. They've been linked to a few players. Number one is Collingwood gun forward Jamie Elliott. He's an unrestricted free agent, and therefore Gold Coast can offer the right contract and Collingwood can't match it. And we'll see what happens. Apparently, it's alleged that the Suns have offered a 3-year contract. We'll find out next week when free agency kicks off. Another player is Western Bulldogs forward Javar Ugle-Hagan, who has a contract until 2026. Did not play a game for the Bulldogs this year. Will be interesting to see if Gold Coast makes a play for Ugle-Hagan, as there were some teams linked to Gold Coast young gun forward Jed Walters, and Ugle-Hagan can be another piece of the full line, or if Walters did leave the Suns, they'll have a forward ready made to replace him. But there's a lot of water going under the bridge in terms of Jed Walter leaving the Suns, and I don't see him leaving the Suns, as he was an academy player taken for Gold Coast Suns, and I just can't see Walter leaving the Suns. But you never know. You can never say never. And the third player linked to the Suns is Christian Petrarca. He's a Melbourne Demons midfield who can play up forward. He is contracted to the D's until 2029. Therefore, he still has 4 years left of his contract, and it will cost many draft picks, maybe 2 first rounders. And in this year's draft, the Suns have got 2 gun youngsters likely to be taken top 5. You got Zeki Ulan and Patterson, who are likely to be top 5, and the Suns can't really trade out their picks as they need to keep those first rounders. They've got 3 in total to acquire those 2 academy players, but I believe there's about 6 academy players on offer for Gold Coast Suns in this draft. Therefore, they wouldn't want to trade out many of their picks in this year's draft, or else it would make it more difficult for them to acquire their 6 academy players in this year's draft. Next team is GWS Giants. The player linked to the Giants is Jaden Leverde, I should say, from Essendon Bombers. He's a defender who is an unrestricted free agent. He is likely to sign on free agent day on the 3rd of October for the Giants. The next team is Hawthorn Hawks. One player linked to the Hawks is Zach Merritt, Essendon's captain. Merritt is contracted to the Bombers until 2027. He still has 2 years left of his contract. It will cost so many draft picks to acquire Merritt, potentially 3 first-round draft picks. It's going to be hard to prize a player under contract, especially a captain with 2 years left. Watch this space. The next team is Melbourne Demons, and there are a number of players linked to the D's. And these include Wade Dickerson, GWS Giant. He's a forward ruckman. He's out of contract. Last year, he was linked to the D's in the trade period. However, last year he had 1 year left of his contract. But this time, fast forward 12 months later, he is out of contract and he has his desire to go to the D's. Next player, Sam Flanders. He is contracted until 2027 for the Suns. Still has 2 years left of his contract. And at this stage, Melbourne don't own any first round draft picks for this season. Next player is St Kilda ruckman, Max Heath. He is out of contract and there's a good chance that the D's may be able to acquire him. Next player is Collingwood's forward, Brody Marchek. He's an unrestricted free agent and therefore whatever offer that the D's offer, and if Marchek is satisfied with that, the Maggies can't match it. There's a good chance that that could be done on Friday the 3rd of October when free agency opens. The next team is North Melbourne Kangaroos. They've got 3 players linked coming to the Roos. One is Hawthorn defender Jay Sarong. He's out of contract and there's a good chance that the North could acquire him. Another one is key defender from the Adelaide Crows is Jordan Butts. However, he is contracted until end of season 2026 and he has 1 year left. The third player linked to the Roos or likely to be done on first day of free agency is Melbourne small forward Charlie Spargo. He's an unrestricted free agent and it's just the paperwork, and therefore the D's can't match the offer that the Kangaroos offer, given that Spargo is an unrestricted free agent and he can go to his team of choice. Next player out of contract is Gold Coast player Connor Buderick. The next team is Port Adelaide Power. There were a number of players linked. The first one is GWS Giants defender in Jacob Weir. He's an unrestricted free agent, therefore the Giants can't match the bid, and he's also likely to sign on the first day of free agency on Friday the 3rd of October. The second player is Braden Fiorini. He's linked to Port Adelaide, Gold Coast Sun players, who is also unrestricted free agent, but he's also is linked to a number of other clubs as well. The third player is Fremantle midfielder Will Brodie. He is contracted until 2027 and he still has 2 years left of his contract remaining with the Dockers. The Port will have to offer draft picks in order to acquire Brodie from Freo. The next team is Richmond Tigers. There are no players linked to the Tigers. Initially, they were linked to Malcolm Rosas Jr. However, he has decided to seek a trade to the Swans, and therefore there are no players linked to the Tigers. The next team is St Kilda, big movers. They've got so many players linked in joining their team. The first one is Carlton's restricted free agent, Tom De Koning. It is alleged that the Saints have offered big dollars to acquire his service. However, given that he's a restricted free agent, the Blues have the last option to match the deal. However, depending on the dollars and Carlton's potential cap space issues, they might not be able to match that bid. The second player is another Carlton player, Jack Savani. He is an unrestricted free agent, therefore he can go to St Kilda directly and the Blues can't match it, given that he's an unrestricted free agent. The third player is GWS Giants defender Lee Alia. He's linked to the Saints and he is out of contract, and in order the Saints to acquire his service, they need to do a trade with the Giants. Two more other players linked to the Saints are Liam Ryan, West Coast Eagles medium forward. He is contracted for another season until 2026. The Saints will have to offer draft picks to satisfy West Coast Eagles in order to acquire Ryan from the Eagles. And lastly is Sam Flanders. He's linked to many Victorian clubs. He is contracted to the Suns until 2027 and he still has 2 years left of his contract. However, the Saints do have a first round draft pick, I believe pick 7-8 rank to acquire Flanders. The next team is Sydney Swans. They've got a number of players linked to them. The first one is Malcolm Rosas Jr. He is a small forward from the Suns out of contract. And the second one, which I think will be very difficult, is Charlie Kernan of Carlton. He is contracted to the Blues until the end of season 2029. Unless Carlton receives something pretty good, what I've read in newspaper and articles, the Blues are seeking a ready-made experienced player if they did lose Kernan. And I'm assuming the players that the Blues would be seeking would be someone like a level of Gordon. And I believe this deal is very difficult to do, and I can't see Kernan leaving the Blues, given that he still has 4 years left of his contract left. Unless a team offers 3 first-round draft picks and a player, I can't see this happening in Kernan leaving the Blues at all. The next team is West Coast Eagles. There are 4 players linked to the Eagles. One is Richmond defender Tyler Young, who's out of contract. Second one, Hawthorn player Sam Butler, who played in the finals. He is also out of contract. And lastly is Brisbane Lions premiership player Brandon Starcevich. He's a restricted free agent. The Eagles can offer a deal, however, the Lions have last rights to match that deal or contract and salary. Watch this space. The last team is the Western Bulldogs. There are 2 players linked to the Doggies. One is Connor Briderick from Gold Coast Suns. He is out of contract, but he is also linked to a number of clubs. And the second player is Adelaide Crows key defender in Jordan Butts. He is contracted to the Crows until end of season 2026. Therefore, in order to acquire Butts, picks will need to be exchanged to the Crows or satisfy the Crows in order the Crows to trade Jordan Butts out to another team. These are the 18 clubs that are players linked in joining them during the trade period and rumours. We'll see what happens within the next few weeks and what players do get traded to and from these respective sides. Thank you for watching my video, and it will be appreciated if you can subscribe and comment to my videos. Hopefully you enjoyed my video, and see you next time. Cheers or bye.